Hello, fancy meeting you here. Is it Friday already this week? Just flew by. I owe you a show. Unfortunately for me, lots of pitch competition. So I jinxed myself. I was like, I don't like pitch competitions. I don't want to talk about pitch competitions. And yet, pitch competitions we have and pitch competitions we will talk about. But let me tell you a few other things. Portland just hit a new 10-year low in venture capital, and I have a positive spin on it. One of the most active seed funds in the region, speaking of venture capital, just changed their name. The conference I honestly didn't even know was going to be here is going to bring 300 folks from the open source community to Portland next week. Talk more about that. Again, pitch competitions. So many pitch competitions. And then if you stick around to the end, if you can put up with all of my pitch competition content, at the end, of course, I will talk about secrets and give you some behind the scenes views on what I've been doing this week and what's going on. So let's get to the quick statements, quick kind of news items that I'm not going to spend a ton of time on. I just need you to know about them. First of all, Claude Social Night will be in Salem in Oregon State Capitol, not in the Capitol building, but in the capital, the city, which is the capital of Oregon, Salem, will be hosting a Claude Code get-together tool I literally use every day, all day. Jason Harris, who you may remember from way back. He's been a blogger, tech guy, community person, marketing type. He is basically the host. He lives down in Salem. Jason, thank you for taking the opportunity to do this. It's taking place on April 22nd at Venty's. So if you are in the Salem area or can drive in or drive down or drive up or drive over to Salem to join that gathering and you're interested in Claude, please take the opportunity to do so. This is not pitches and those kind of things. Thank goodness. It's just a group of people kind of co-working around Claude and sharing what they've learned and that kind of thing. There's also the TAO AI Sandbox event happening also on April 22nd. So if you're in Portland and you're like, I don't really know if I want to drive down to Salem, I'd rather just sit and watch people and be entertained by pitch competitions.
Are you not entertained?
The TAO AI Sandbox event could be a good one for you. Make sure and sign up for that. April 22nd. Of course, I'll link it up. And then big pitch competitions. Hay fever, still a thing. Our friends at TIE Oregon have their annual West Side Pitch competition. Really interesting to me because even though it's a pitch competition, the last year's winner has come back to be the MC this time around. So you know it's got to be a valuable pitch competition if the previous winner is like, yeah, I like this so much, I'm going to come back. And you know what I just noticed? Give me a sec. There, that's much better. I apologize. That I let you down by not turning on all the lights in the back. Anyway, back to our friends. At TIE Oregon, West Side Pitch, happening what day? April 23rd. So you have the two events on April 22nd. This is happening on April 23rd out in Hillsborough. Lots of prize money floating around, lots of people pitching. I announced the finalists on the blog. If you're interested and want more information, check that out. But TIE Oregon, West Side Pitch, happening next week. I will report, of course, on who winds up winning that. Gorge Pitch Fest. Another pitch fest.
I volunteer as tribute.
Luckily, I'm just doing quick hits. If you're watching this on Friday evening, applications were due today. So you probably missed it. I'm just saying. But who knows? They may accidentally leave the form open over the weekend. You may be able to sneak one in. But I just wanted you to be aware of Gorge Pitch Fest because it will be coming up in future months. But just wanted you to be aware of the Gorge Pitch Fest because you may want to attend and see the people pitch. I got to judge last year, and it was a great event. And the campsite from Antelope, which is a dark sky certified community thing, won last time, if you remember. But no telling who will be on stage this time around. So keep your eye out for Gorge Pitch Fest. Of course, I'll help promote that once it comes along, because clearly that's what I do now, is just promote pitch competitions non-stop. Speaking of, no, I'm kidding. I'm done with the pitch competition stuff. Okay, big story. Portland venture capital just hit a 10-year low. So we haven't seen so little venture capital invested for a single quarter in a decade. And the exact numbers for the Portland metro area, this comes from PitchBook and the National Venture Capital Association. Portland Metro only had $69.7 million invested across 15 companies in Q1, which is nearly 65% down. So it's not like we just had half. We had less than half of what had been invested in the previous quarter, year over year. Statewide, it's not much better. It's $74 million invested. So $5 million more across 23 deals. My response to this whole situation might surprise you, might seem a little contrary, but I'm like, good. Because this is the time where companies are being built, things are being pursued, that even though there's not a lot of capital flowing in, this seems to be the time when Portland and Oregon do our best work, when we've got to be a little more scrappy, we've got to figure things out. People aren't getting like the red carpet and, gold raining from above on them to fund their startups. They have to work at it. They have to figure this stuff out, and they have to acquire customers and all those kind of things. I have some examples of companies that came out of a very similar situation in 2016, like Vacasa, which went on to become a unicorn, went public at more than $4 billion valuation. Jama Software, which was the most successful exit in Portland startup history, at $1.2 billion. I think it actually tied, if I'm remembering correctly, with Viewpoint Software at $1.2 billion. But anyway, one of the most successful exits ever, started during this time period and really waited, like built customers, built revenue, built traction, and then much later went out and raised venture capital. Cloudability was one of the companies that was up and coming at that point in time. They wound up raising about $40 million in total and were acquired by Aptio. Aptio was then acquired by IBM, and IBM was like, these days, like, Cloudability is keeping IBM up in all the Gartner and Forrester, the Gartner quadrants and the Forrester waves and all that kind of thing. Cloudability is keeping them up there. They were one of those companies that was growing in 2016, back when, there wasn't a lot of venture capital flowing. And then, of course, Stream started in 2017, got acquired real quickly, I think in 2019. Cozy, another company that was built here locally. Gino kind of, came up here with the company kind of already going, if I'm remembering correctly, but they wound up being a success here as well. The other thing that began around that time period was the Zebras movement with Zebras Unite. If you're not familiar with that, I can do a whole huge episode on Zebras, but it was basically this counterpoint to unicorn pursuits, zebra pursuits, where zebras, are real, unicorns aren't. So a whole thing could go into there, but a really interesting pursuit at that period of time. And, that's why I'm super optimistic about where we are right now. I feel really good energy in the community about where we are, because it's not based on venture capital flowing into the community. We're not basing it on false metrics or fake internet points. We're just building things, and there's energy, and we're hacking things together, and we're getting together in groups and sharing what we built. We're doing pitch events to tell people about what we built. But all in all, the most important part of it is right now, really good momentum, really good energy, people building stuff, people being creative. I don't care how much venture capital is flowing right now. That will solve itself. So please, if you see the negative news about BC being way down in Portland or way down in Oregon, just take a beat, pause, take a breath, and realize that it's at these points in time when everything seems rather dire that the best startups in our state are built. So please be optimistic about that. Okay, speaking of VC, our friends at Cascade Seed Fund are no longer called our friends at Cascade Seed Fund. They are now our friends at Longway Ventures. Cascade Seed Fund has rebranded, has changed their name. They originally began as like Cascade Angels and then became Cascade Seed Fund. And now they've decided to embrace this new name, Longway Ventures, in part because seed has become like a word that makes no sense anymore. You kind of saw it. So when, let me date myself. When I started in startups, it was really just lettered rounds. It was like you started with Series A and then Series B and Series C. And I think one of the companies I worked at got to Series E or F along those lines. And then they're like, well, now we need kind of like a seed kind of level of investment. And then we needed a pre-seed level of investment. And basically what Cascade Seed Fund decided was it was really nonsensical to have the word seed in their name. That was one of the motivators. So they picked Longway Ventures to better describe like where they engage early with startups. And it's a long way to get to a liquidity event or an exit, but they're comfortable with that. They have that risk tolerance. They're doing the work. They're investing early, staying alongside of their companies and helping them get down that path to growth and hopefully eventually some kind of successful exit that generates wealth for those companies. And caught a post by Robert Pease, who I believe is the managing partner. I always get general partner and managing partner confused in my head, but I think he's the managing partner. And we'll link up to that if you're interested in more. But just congratulations. I know how hard rebranding can be. I know C1 just went through that last week where they changed from Conductor 1 to C1. And then we got another rebrand going this week. And as somebody who had to do rebrands with any number of startups over the years, I realize how challenging that can be. I realize how many resources are needed to pull that off. So congratulations to Longway Ventures on the new name. Totally understand why you went about it. And I wish you the best of luck on the long way you're going with the companies you're investing in. Okay, totally shifting gears from the VC side of things. Apparently, if you use Rust, there is a framework called Tokio, Tokio, and open source designed to enable some magic with Rust. Let me see if I can do anything in my notes that tells me exactly what it does. No, because that's not what I do. I don't get technical. It's not even the framework or technology that I'm describing. It's the people who like to use that. It's the people who like to use Rust and like to use Tokio. They are descending upon Portland next week for the inaugural Tokyo Conf. And it just makes me a little nostalgic in a really happy way. Portland used to be this amazing hub of open source activity and of open source events. So we used to have OSCON, which was O'Reilly's big open source convention. We have RubyConf, we've had DjangoCon, we've had any number of open source focused events happening here in town. And it's nice to see that kind of coming back a little bit. So 300 or so open source attendees, descending on Portland next week. If you're here for TokyoConf and you need some tips or tricks on stuff in town, please hit me up. Just hit me up. Happy to answer any of your questions about Portland, give you someplace to eat, give you someplace to hang out, give you a coffee shop with good Wi-Fi, whatever I can do to make you feel more at home. You rusty Tokyo Conf attendee, more than happy to have you in our city as part of the open source community. Thank you for coming. Please come back, visit us often. And if you're interested, I think tickets are still available for Tokyo Conf, and I will go ahead and link that up for you so that you can grab a ticket and join those 300 other folks who will be in town here in Portland for the week. Okay. I apologize. I don't feel bad. I just sound awful. And if you had, I didn't even remember to turn my light on. For those of you who haven't stayed this long, this is secrets. This is the section where I just kind of share what's been going on this week. I don't want to leave anybody out. I got to chat with Patrick at VidiScribe, Robert Oman, who is a journalist who is working on some interesting long form tech stuff, but also potentially a kind of serialized nonfiction, not biography, but biographical memoir-y, sort of, maybe. I don't want to, it's Robert's project. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but if he's willing to share more, at some point I will definitely let you know, but it's a really interesting project. I talked to Sam Titus for a Startup Stories interview, caught up with Marshall Kirkpatrick, who is also a Pi alum, founder of Little Bird. He's down there in Eugene. He's working on some new things. Remember the What's Up With That? Yeah. So What's Up With That is his current project. He also has something called Hawkeye that looks super interesting. And we were just kind of comparing notes on what he's been building. I'm excited to chat more with him. Khalid Alston, who is in the Oregon AI Accelerator, got to chat with him. And then people I check in with regularly, Matt Dittrich, the president of TI Oregon, and Skip Newberry, the president of TAO, the Technology Association of Oregon, got to chat with him. I also dropped another startup story with Frog Ferry. So I got to talk to Susan at Frog Ferry. Great conversation. A little different than the usual startup stories, so it might be interesting. If you haven't listened to any startup stories, that might be a good one to listen to. I swear, this hay fever is fucking me up, and I'm sorry. Every week I'm complaining about the hay fever. It's so bad this year. It is so bad. It's off the charts, literally off the charts. It's like tree pollen, very high for tree pollen, the number's 200, and it's 750 today. Whatever that means, 750 of what? I don't know, granules per micro centimeter of air or whatever. I don't know, but it's just a lot and it's killing me. It's destroying my voice and my nose and all those kind of things. So thank you for putting up with me and for putting up with that kind of stuff. I had some big posts I wanted to get out this week and I just couldn't get enough quality time with them to publish them. So I will keep working on those. I thought there might be nice to also talk maybe a little bit about Intel and its growing impact on the startup community, which is somewhat new and unique and might be interesting. Yeah, but all in all, I'm cautiously optimistic right now. I don't even recognize myself. I'm so optimistic. My Silicon Forest voice is overly optimistic. My Pi persona, me, which is more my Pi persona, tends to be a little more cynical and cranky old man-ish. I know that comes as a shock. But Even the cranky old man pie part of me is somewhat optimistic. So there's some good energy right now, despite the fact that I cannot escape the never-ending stream of pitch competitions. But that's the way things go in the start community. So that's this week. Hope you had a good week. Hope it was busy. Hope you're feeling optimistic. Are you kind of glass half full or glass half empty right now? Glass totally empty, glass totally full. Would just love to hear how things are going for you and your startup and all those kind of things. I hope you're hanging in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, or this hay fever ends, please keep up the good work.